County Budget Committee. Robbie, if you would, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Creasy?
Present.
Commissioner Waddell?
Present.
Commissioner Smallridge?
Here.
Commissioner Swight?
Present.
Commissioner Fritz? Absent. Commissioner Denenberg is absent. Commissioner Jameson is absent.
Are we missing something?
And Commissioner Val
Is present, so we have 5 out of 8, so we do have a quorum. I will remind commissioners, however, though, unless some other ones show up, in order to pass a motion on anything today, it will require all 5 votes, if I am correct on that rule. I see heads nodding in the audience.
Committee,
4 would be a tie.
All right. Thank y'all very much. If everyone would join us, I'd like to ask Commissioner White to lead us in prayer, and Director Sweet of the EMS service to lead us in the pledge.
If y'all will indulge me, I had a dream last night about a prayer, about a way to do a prayer. And it just so happened that the chairman asked me to lead the prayer this morning, so I'm gonna do a prayer like I did last night in my dream. Dear Lord, our precious Heavenly Father, amen.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Commissioners, moving on with the agenda. The first thing we have is the cash and fund balance report. Director Holbrook, go right ahead, sir.
Thank you. I would like to say the cash and fund balance for July is unaudited, as when we get to this time of the year, it always is and we are closing tomorrow. So maybe by commission meeting, I'll have some not really audited numbers, but we have closing numbers, so I can give us a fund balance and some different restricted funds and so forth. So it's pretty much like last month. The unassigned fund balance is 5.7 million. Total fund balance is 10,560,592. Cash for general fund is 15,225,725, which is 5.1 million up from last year. Most every fund is the same, exact same as last month because of June. We haven't rolled June's balances and stuff yet. We don't do that till we close. So, any questions on the fund balance report? Okay, for sales tax, Anderson County as a whole, 4.2 million, 24% increase from last June. The Anderson County portion only, we had 615,785. That's up 58% from last June, which we were at 390,000. So we almost doubled it. We did double it, actually, sorry. No, we didn't double it, 58%. Yeah, but that's another, as I say, every month, our sales tax numbers continue to do really well.
Let the record reflect Commissioner Jameson is present.
thank you.
Okay. So the first, number 0 and 1 are 2 transfers from the, both from general fund seeking approval as a group. One's for $50 and one's for $300.
Move for approval. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Smallridge to move for approval, second by Commissioner Jameson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carries.
Appropriations 2 through 4 are from the school department. All 3 are increasing revenue. One's actually decreasing revenue, increasing food service USDA because they federal reimbursement due to extension of free meals for the school year again this year. So we received 2.6 million for that, and she was able to reduce some food service revenue codes based on that money.
Do we have a motion?
I move we approve approve, but I have a question.
Commissioner Creasy moves to approve. Do we have a second?
Se-
Second by Commissioner White. Commissioner Creasy, go ahead, sir.
Yes, I think he can help me out with these acronyms, CTE and SRO.
CTE is Career and Technical Education, SRO is our school resource officers.
Okay, that's sort of what I thought, but I wanted to know what it was, for sure. Thank you very much.
Any further discussion? Commissioner White.
Dr. Parrott, on page 3, it says here, revenue from students who normally pay for meals is being replaced with federal reimbursement due to extension of free meals for school year. That's wherever child eats free.
Yes, every child ate free this year. Every child eats free in all of our schools anytime right now, other than the two high schools, Norris Elementary and Norris Middle School, because the free and reduced is not over 40%. Because of COVID, the federal government said it didn't matter, everybody could eat free. So what had happened is the revenue we would receive from that's about $270,000. So they're reimbursing us that cost back to the school system. And so this year, they're doing the same thing. And I think there's an appropriation, in that, about 2.6 million that they're gonna give us this year to offset it again this year.
Okay, is there any does the school, does the cafeteria, does the, food service, do they make any money? Do they make a profit?
Now, well, all the money stays in there. Whatever money they make goes back in for buying equipment, or for paying for utilities, for paying for salaries and things like that.
Okay, so when the government sends you a check for $2,619,000, that is expenses.
Yeah, that's money that we'll buy food, they'll buy food and pay for, cafeteria workers and pay for everything this year, yeah. And there's that fund balance, it's a whole separate account from the school system. It's a separate fund in itself. I could stand up. It's a separate fund in itself, and they have a fund balance. I was trying to, Robbie, you know what the fund balance is?
It's 1.2 million.
There's 1.2 million in that fund balance for them.
143, it's Fund 143. That's on this fund balance report.
And that's restricted to food
Yeah, that's
service
restricted for food service. It can't be used for anything else.
and
Yes,
carried forward to.
yes.
So
Yeah.
their motive is not to make a profit in
No,
any way.
no. I don't think we've raised prices on meals in probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, I think.
All right, thanks, sir.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Any further discussion?
Good question, Jerry.
Dr. Parrott, I've got one comment. It's not necessarily a question. I think when the news article came out a couple of weeks ago, maybe some folks out in the community misunderstood. I think one of the fears I heard from my folks in the 4th District was that there was not going to be any food in the schools for our kids, and some parents addressed that with me. I think they misunderstood the news story. Just to
Yeah.
confirm, there is not a danger of that happening.
No, what happens is there is food shortage out there, and what we order, we may not get everything we order, but we're gonna make sure we feed our children
I assured our people.
with a hot
in-
meal.
I assured our people in the 4th District that was the case. I just wanted to
Yes.
confirm that for the record.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Parrott. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Okay, the next budget amendment is a transfer for payroll from the juvenile department, decreasing 322 juvenile court evaluation and testing $1,000 and increasing other salaries and wages $1,000.
Do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Smallridge moves to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jameson. Any discussion? I have one. I think Tracy Spitzer from Juvenile Court has appeared. We appreciate her being here today. One of the things I've always liked, as far as pay raises across the board for county departments, that's us. That's what we do as a budget committee and county commission. When it comes to individual pay raises, I always like to hear from the department heads for the justification for this. And no one's saying, the person for a long time, certainly don't doubt deserving, but has any duties been added or anything like that that warrants the pay raise?
Sandy has taken on a lot of extra responsibilities. When we've been dealing with this COVID situation and having to reset our dockets, I can't tell you how many times. She has taken the charge on a lot of that and really helped me, because I've been dealing with the custody matters and trying to keep those on the docket. She has helped immensely with the delinquent side of things and getting cases reset and getting letters out and making sure all those individuals are served again and making sure they all know their court date. So she has taken on a lot of extra that she normally would not have had to have done. So,
Thank you. Any more discussion?
Do you know right off the bat what the salary is in that position?
hers is gonna be now, with the 4% raise, 41 and some change. I don't know the extra, I know it's 41,000.
Where does that fall in with the rest of your,
The other probation officers make 40,000 with the 4% raise.
okay.
And I did look this up. She's been here since off and on since 1992, over 30
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, she sure has. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, the next is an appropriation from the circuit court, increasing clerical personnel $2,823, and they're in lieu of salary $2,823.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner White, second by Commissioner Waddell. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Okay, the next two are from county clerk. The first one is in lieu of salaries, increasing it $1,031, and clerical personnel $1,031. And
Motion to approve by Commissioner White, second by Commissioner Waddell. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
okay, the next appropriation we have from the highway department for $16,500, and from the restricted code, increasing travel $1,000, staff development $500, and maintenance $15,000.
Commissioner Waddell moves to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smallridge. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Okay, the next one is from the Register of Deeds, and it's appropriation from in lieu of salary, $50,034, increasing that, and increasing clerical personnel $30,000, and benefit codes at the additional $20,034. Would add a one-time employee to the Register of Deeds staff. The position was cut when the workload dropped, but is needed now for the backup. And I did include a little on the side of that budget amendment. Last year, 2021, the Register of Deeds in lieu of was $496,989, and we only budgeted $340,000, so they did increase their in lieu of what they turned over to the county, $156,000.
Commissioner White moves to approve. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Jameson. Any discussion?
I do.
Commissioner Waddell.
Come on up. You don't ever get up here and get in front of us.
Jeff would say, hey, don't give me a chance to talk to a mic, so.
We'll keep you up here as long as we can. Hey, just to clarify, I don't know if I was here or not. When you got rid of that position, what happened to the money?
I have no idea what you did with it.
Well, did you return it to the general fund?
It did go back to the general
Right.
fund. In the past, we've had opportunities where we might adjust salaries accordingly as people would leave and positions would be absorbed in departments. That did not happen in this case. In this case, it was a true situation where we gave up an employee. And that was done because just to be honest with you, we were at a point where our revenues had decreased a little bit. Someone had left the office, and so rather than replacing them, we just allowed that to sort of fall off. We have since, obviously, as you heard, have experienced a huge growth, not just in revenue, but in work as well. So it's sort of been put back before us that we need to go ahead and have somebody hired back.
The market's doing
It's
quite
booming.
well right now. So if the, in the next couple of years, the market does take a downturn, then you'll have the ability to,
We are at risk of layoff just like everybody else.
very good. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Commissioner Smallridge.
Yes, did I understand that if you have money in excess when you finish that goes back to the general fund, does it?
It does. We budget X number of dollars depending on what it costs to run computers, what it costs to do salaries, what it costs to do any number of different things within the office. We turn all revenue over today. It used to be that we would pay out salaries and then we'd turn that excess revenue beyond salaries back to the county. Today, we turn all revenues over, and in exchange, you all pay out salaries and you all pay out benefits, you all pay out all the other things. And the goal is to make that either a wash or make it to where more money comes in than goes back out to the office, and that's its purpose. But the state governs that pretty heavily. They sort of see to it that we try and at least break even or get close to it. And so far, that's been the case. But certainly, there are some counties around us that's not. They just don't have the same economic impact that we've been having, and they struggle. But Anderson County's been very blessed, and we seem to be doing well.
Any further discussion?
Just one thing for Rob, this 496, I heard what you said, so that's approximately $150,000 more
Than what we budgeted last year, yes.
returned
Yes.
to the general fund?
So they turned $496,000 over in fees to the county.
And we budgeted 340?
Each month, yes, and we budgeted 340 for the year.
Right.
Which for 340 was, I mean, the 3-year average. I will say, one of the reasons all of our fee offices have done really well this year. Every one of them are up except anything related to the court system. Even the circuit court was up some, but the clerk master wasn't as like the other fee offices, but trustee was up, of course, what they're collecting, trustees commission off sales tax and property tax. So we've had, when their sales tax continues to be up, they're collecting that. But they turn that back over to the county as well.
So you're 150 in the green right now.
Well, and I will also tell you this as a bragging for my office staff. We only have 3 other individuals there besides myself. It's one of the smallest offices that works for the county that's a fee office. In fact, I think it is the smallest that's a fee office by quite a bit. And I really appreciated their stepping up and doing what needed to be done to get us through that period of time over the past several years. And I'm sure they're going to be very appreciative if you all approve this addition. So,
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next from solid waste is an appropriation from restricted for public health and welfare, $12,500 to other contracted services. It's to do a demolition of the warehouse building that's at the new West Wolf Valley Convenience Center property.
Commissioner White moves to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Creasy. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Okay, 12 and 13 are from the sheriff's office. Number 12 is from the restricted in Fund 122, $15,540 to private contracted services for a new Sheriff's Department mobile app, and there's several pages of explanation behind that. And 13 is unassigned fund balance, $6,000 for the badge system. And I will say, I was telling Shane earlier, we do have to maintain the badge system, and they do need money to maintain that, and we did not put that in the budget this year. Neither one of us thought about that. Since it's been taken over by the Sheriff's Department for the first year, I guess, or the first budget year, since that's happened, we will start budgeting for that from now on, but this year we did not put that in the budget.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, but I'd love to ask you a question too.
Commissioner White moves to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Waddell. Commissioner White, go ahead, sir.
I'll ask you two guys, is this necessary?
You want to go first? You want me to go?
Well, our citizens spend a lot of time, they have a lot of interest in what the sheriff's department's doing. If it's anywhere from the jail, the inmate list, to what's going on a daily basis. I mean, they see patrol cars or emergency services, they're always asking questions. I don't know how in-depth this app, I really don't know much about the app. I don't know how in-depth it's gonna be, but if it's something that you know, they can keep up with, we can put out alerts, that will go straight to their phone, I assume, on this, that would tell of, you know, a burglary that has just happened, or a be on the lookout, or any of those things. That's normally what these apps do. I'm not for sure about this one. I assume that it's gonna do the same thing, but, you know, it's very helpful to the community. Everybody's going to apps on everything, so they have them on their phone, available no matter where they're at. I also hear and see a lot of people very interested in who's being arrested, or you know, somebody in their neighborhood that's breaking in houses. They want to know if they've been arrested. I've got calls numerous times of, hey, you all were after so-and-so, have you picked him up yet? You know, they want to know. So they want to know who's in jail and who's out of jail, and what's going on. So I think it's a great thing, if it does all those things. And I'm certain it does.
Director Mays wanted me to make the point, he's apologizing not being able to be here tonight, but he did want to emphasize it was being paid for out of the drug fund. One of the things that I admire about it is it adds a link to check the sex offender registry. So you can actually get on this app and find out all the registered sex offenders that live around you or may live where a location where you're going. So I, for one, being assigned to the sex offender registry for the sheriff's department, I see that as a big benefit to our communities.
Are there a lot of sex offenders?
Yes, sir. I think the sheriff's department right now supervises over 60, and that's not counting Clinton Police Department, Oak Ridge Police Department. Probation and parole supervises those that are on probation and parole. There are a lot. Yes, sir. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Okay, number 14 through 16 are from the mayor. Number 14 is the scanner for the courtroom, for the one entrance. It was actually the cheapest bid at $14,950. Not the cheap, it was the cheapest bid. And number 15 is for the senior center. It's from unassigned fund balance, but it is for revenue for items they sold, like playground equipment and other items that rolled into fund balance. We don't have a way to go back and get revenue in June, so it rolls into fund balance, so we're taking it from fund balance. And 16 is for the tree grant from out in Norris that we won. It's $4,200, but it's using money that we received from Carter Express for the $350 a month for the parking at David Jones Industrial Park.
Do we have a motion?
I have a question.
Okay.
I'm curious about an X-ray scanner. What exactly is an X-ray scanner and what it's used for?
Good afternoon, Mayor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Creasy, that is the equipment that you will put, like if you have a briefcase or a lady's handbag, that will go through the long scanner machine.
Like at the airport?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I didn't know exactly, but I sort of had that hint, but I wanted to hear what it really was.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Do we have a motion?
I'll move for approval. And then I
Commissioner
have a question.
Smallridge moves to approve. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Jameson. Any discussion? Commissioner Smallridge, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so basically our rationale for going to fund balance is that the sales money goes back into fund balance. Is that correct?
All these sales were in June
Yeah.
from Gov Deals. We have pictures of actually when they were sold. So that money rolls into fund balance from that revenue code, and then we can take it out of fund balance. In the new year, you have to take it out of fund balance. If it was the current year that it was sold, then we could take it out of we could use the revenue code, but since it's crossing fiscal years, we can't.
But typically, the money does not go back to the department. It just goes into the fund balance. Typically.
It can,
In other
unless the
words, this
department
is-
requests it during that year.
This is a little bit unusual in terms of how the money is, taken from fund balance and replaced by the sales money. Is that a fair statement?
Somewhat, but we don't normally sell items on Gov Deals. A lot of times we don't, for example, the boat that the sheriff's department sold, it was at the auction though, and not Gov Deals. But we did take that money and replace it back where they spent it. They bought that firearms training. So we replaced that money with that when we made that sale. So sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. It's just, it can be done if it's, usually when it's bigger items, we tend to take it back to the department sometimes.
Robbie, isn't the reason we're doing this is because it was donations to them
Yes,
in
and it
the
was
first
donations
place?
to the senior center also. That's a good point, Denver. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Well, yeah, two more comments. And I guess that would be to the mayor on item 15 and 16. It was just a compliment. You don't have to explain a thing, but I want to compliment you for the explanation on those two items and the materials supplied with your explanation. That's a beautiful way for the budget committee to be prepared when they come in here. And I was really impressed with that.
Thank you.
Thank you for those explanations.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Okay, number 17 is from the Finance Department. It's for the Charter Commission. We approved a contract for outside counsel agreement to Owens, Wilson, and Coleman Law Firm for $25,000. We only put $5,400 in the budget this year, so this is the additional $19,600 for that contract.
Do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Smallridge moves to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Creasy. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner White?
every time this comes up, I say the same thing. I ran for this job, to be on the Charter Commission, and I ran on the position that I was for no changes in our county government. I think me and Robert both ran for this, but we had one person in our district that ran for this job that was for term limits and different changes in our government. I think me and Robert both, we beat him 10-1. Nobody in our district wants to change our county government. But the commission was kind enough to grant the Charter Commission $50,000 to spend, and we're spending it. I'm against it. I have to vote every time for no changes in our county government, because that's the platform I ran on. I'm not against our Charter Commission, and he'll pass it. We're gonna hire this lawyer, but I think the majority of people in my district did not want term limits. They didn't want the mayor to be limited to 2 terms. They didn't want to hire hire a county law director. They didn't want the superintendent to be elected by the people, the school superintendent. They didn't want no changes. So even though the Charter Commission, we're gonna hire a lawyer, and this is what this is all for, but my position is I'm against it. And I'm just rattling on, I'm sorry, but it irritates me to think that we're gonna make some changes in a system that's working good. So I'll hush.
It's all right.
I have a question.
Commissioner Waddell?
Jerry, do you know off the top of your head, or someone, how much money have we spent on this Charter Commission for legal fees and lawyers and
I think we're up to about 33,000.
and this is gonna be
Well,
in,
now you count, this will be this 25, this will be the big item here.
Oh, Jerry.
your mic, pull your mic down.
I'm through.
So,
We set aside this money last year, but the lawyer that we hired ended up he left the job, so we had to, this group has already been hired, and the contract has already been approved by commission. So we're just actually having to pay them now, so.
He's on board.
And I can get you the totals we spent since we started charter. I don't know that.
Well,
off the top of my
I'm
head.
just like Jerry. I know my district is not in favor of any of this, and we're sitting up here just spending money on something that I'm certain the majority of the county doesn't want. Not just your district or just my district, but it's the majority of the county. The election showed what they wanted when each individual person ran on their platform. So I have a hard time voting for this also.
Any further discussion? Commissioner Smalley?
Yeah, I just want to say, I think the commission, Charter Commission as a whole felt just as Jerry has spoken. No one really, well, one person, but certainly majority of the commission, Charter Commission, did not want to make any changes. But legally, we had to develop, from what I understand, we had to develop a charter. And so we were left with that issue, and we had to go ahead and approve it, or we will at some point hopefully approve a charter.
Any further discussion? I'll echo the comments of the commissioners that have spoken. I don't hear anyone in my district who is in favor of any changes, at least any major changes. However, I think, if I understand the amendment correctly, Director Holbrook, this is for the attorney that is working for the Charter Commission, who is doing the work that the Charter Commission is bound to do.
He's on the job.
Yeah.
He's working.
We've
Yeah.
already paid him a retainer in
So
2005.
I guess my point being, I don't think a no vote is really going to accomplish the sentiment that we're expressing here today. I
Have to
think,
come up with a sunny.
yeah.
Yeah, we owe,
Yeah, just so everybody's clear on that. Any further discussion?
we owe him.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
All right, in the sections part of our agenda, Section A is just letting, required by state to let commission know that our budget was approved by the state of Tennessee, so that's what I'm doing with Section A, and we had no issues.
You need a motion?
No, I do not. It'll just be in the budget packet, so it'll present the commission also. On Section B, C, and D are all Brian in IT, and I'm gonna let him talk to you guys about that. On Section B, but I did, the extra stuff I gave you all, each one of the sections have a budget amendment that goes with it if it is approved. The money could change, because me and Brian just talked briefly Monday morning about some of these, so I don't know if I have the exact totals right, but I tried.
Okay, which one's first?
The hearing assist is first.
Hearing assist. Okay, you all have the information from BIS Digital, the sheets there. These are for each of the courtrooms. Roger Lloyd, ADA Committee, as well as Rex Lynch and others had approached me about digging in technically into replacing the assistive listening devices for the courtrooms, all 6 of them from all courtrooms. If you look up in the top corner, that red device that's got the little red light, that is an infrared beam that sends out into the courtroom, and people that are needing assistive hearing, it enables them to, it beams that signal across the room like a remote control, like the old days, if you remember, with your clickers you used to vote with. It was the same kind of a process as that does. Now it's moved to an FM transmission. It's a secure FM transmitter. No one can intercept it or Bearcat scan it. It does go to each courtroom would have 4 listening devices to use along with the device on the ceiling. And it will resolve all of their issues. I put it before the ADA. They approved it. I worked with Hal Cousins in Chancery Court. He was the next person to get approval. He approved us moving forward. Rex and then the others approved. So I'm here before you to facilitate this if it's your desire to have these for the county, for the ADA committee to have these devices. They don't at this point have, I believe, the funding for this, so I'm asking for this from general or any advice therein to produce this equipment for the citizens of the county.
And on the budget amendment, I did give 2 options for a funding source, unassigned fund balance, or the ADA assigned. And I talked to Commissioner Creasy, and I don't think they want to, I don't know that they want to use the ADA money, so.
I don't know if there's anybody, can I speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if anybody here's can answer this, but how often do we use this system we have? Does anybody know?
I've been told that it's usually once or twice a month, but as of that, we would,
Is there anything wrong with the system?
yes, the broadcasting units are still working, but the devices that they set back in the benches with, the batteries, back years ago, we learned not to keep batteries in them because the batteries bust and leak, and the units have all been stained and broken, and they will no longer click and close the batteries because the plastic is warped. It's just, they're over 20 years old at this point. Some courtrooms don't even have any that work. Our circuit and general have one or two. I think Elledge has had two that worked, and Layton only had one. So we're degrading down to we're not going to have this functionality much longer with existing equipment.
And how many units do we need, 4 or 5?
It's 6, one for each courtroom.
Okay.
And they're roughly, it's 3,212 apiece. The whole package is 19,272. This goes to existing equipment that we already have in the courtrooms. This is in addition to and meets up with what's there. We're not fundamentally changing the infrastructure of the audio visual of the court. It goes along. Biz is our current vendor for this material or these types of devices, along with as our audio visual as well. They're a current vendor, but this would be in addition to our equipment.
Robbie, I'm
it's
showing
19 or
16.
Well,
I put 16 on the bid.
we had, my original turn-in was 19.2, and after we met with the ADA committee, they requested that I proceed with all 6 and not.
Okay.
One of the courtrooms has an 8-year-old device that is newer than the others, but after we all had our discussions, and that was pretty much everybody, they decided we should go ahead and do these all together, because we're gonna have another problem with this down the road with that one courtroom.
So ADA approves this or supports this?
Yes.
I make a motion that we approve this.
Commissioner White moves to approve. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Jameson. Any discussion?
19.2.
I have a question.
Commissioner Jameson.
Can any of this old stuff be of any use to anybody?
That I wouldn't say so. It's a very old technology. The line of sight, it literally, if somebody walks in front of that beam, it cuts out to the person sitting in the pew. It worked for the time, but there's a lot better.
What's the life expectancy of this system?
Over 20 years plus, so I'd say we ought to do the
That'll
same.
get me.
And if we do move to a different center down the road with possibly a justice center or something along those lines, if that is decided, this equipment can move and will move with that.
Commissioner Smalley.
Yeah, I was just wondering, I'm not suggesting this necessarily, but this would be eligible for ADA, payment out of the ADA account. Would that be eligible?
Yes.
Okay, and what does their budget look like?
Well, in the budget each year, they have 18,000, which wouldn't cover this, but in their restricted funds after this year, they'll have $30,000. So they have money to cover it, and I don't know that they passed to pay for that in their budget out of their restricted funds, or that's why I put both options on there. Mr. Creasy's on the ADA committee.
Yeah, and there was quite a bit of discussion, and I'm glad that everybody's asking questions, because we had a very healthy discussion at the ADA committee. And Mayor Frank's been with us at many of our meetings and has helped us quite a bit with it. And we're anticipating more expenditures with the remodeling of the courthouse, and was a little bit worried about using the funds out of the ADA committee for this expenditures. We thought maybe the courts could do it, but the courts didn't want to, and I understand after the comments about the Chancery Court that we talked about earlier. So that made sense, but we felt that the general fund is healthy. We could take it there and reserve our ADA funds for further improvements here as we remodel the courthouse.
Absolutely.
The countertops we got for the clerk's office and things like that need to be taken care of to accommodate people with wheelchairs. in walkers and when they come up to pay their taxes and that kind of thing. And that's one of the things we're working on and hoping that we'll have enough money to do that.
Commissioner Smart.
Yeah, I raised the question, but I do agree with Commissioner Creasy on the amount. They have about 30,000 in your, you're gonna need that, I'm sure, for many things.
So for clarification, Commissioner White, does your motion specify that the funding come from the unassigned fund balance?
Correct.
All right, thank you, sir. Is that your second?
Yes,
Thank you. I'm sorry. Who seconded that?
I think Bob did.
That's your second? Thank you, sir. Any further discussion?
And that's
Thank you.
for 19,272.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
And the next is the roll call.
Roll call. Okay, our roll call system that we vote with the commissioners every month is up for its yearly, and it is normally 1,400, 1,500. They have rounded it off to 1,500 this year. We're getting almost 2 years out of this package because roll call has ended their process, and they have sold out to a company called Open Meeting. It's a good sellout, I believe. They have worked together hand in hand, and Victor, the former manager and owner of the company, has actually moved over to employment with this new provider. But as it stands, this is your normal fee basically per year. This will carry us into the 2022 budget year, and then we'll be going into their new process at that point. But this will carry us up till the end of that year. Normally Jeff Cole would be going through with this process in his budget. He has asked me to proceed with moving this into IT. Before I was here, he was the one that always ran the system and managed it, and Annette always paid it and done it. And his side of the equation has gotten very, very busy. He explained to me today, and we were talking about it as far as budget-wise goes, he's always paid this fee yearly. He's never had it directly as a budgeted item, other than he just pays it. He's requesting we don't take this from his budget. We do something else here because where he is with the stream of workload that's now upon him and the amount of constituents that he's having to deal with what they're requesting, he's asking if we fund this without pulling that from his budget. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't mind it at all. I'm already running it, so I don't have a problem with that on our side, and we can handle, Tammy and I can handle making sure this is. Well, I don't have budget for it, but,
I make a motion, we approve this and take it out of undesignated reserve.
Commissioner White moves to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Creasy. Any discussion?
Well, I thought we just had a discussion about how all the fee offices had a big windfall this year, but apparently Mr. Cole doesn't want to share any of those funds, so I don't know why he can't pay. He just asked for a raise for one of his employees, and we gave him a raise out of the undesignated fund. I'm gonna be a no.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no.
Nope.
Motion carries.
thank y'all. And then the other
That's a
item,
good point.
Robbie, that was the.
That was the cameras for the Dickens and the building.
I think at this point, I'm gonna ask if we table that. I'm needing some information that I thought I would have for this meeting that our key vendor here I haven't received it from him. I thought I would be able to speak with you on it, so I'm gonna go ahead and table that till next month.
All right, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank
Sorry
you,
for
Director Young.
confusion. Thank you all.
Next.
Okay. So item D is Arcadia Springs, the funding source. I know we talked about, I was there and I almost spoke up and said, were we getting this $46,000 for the funding for Arcadia Springs? Gary says commission agreed to pay for that, and so he doesn't want it coming out of his budget. So I'm here to say, where do we?
I recall that we agreed to pay that out of the undesignated fund, if
What?
I'm,
And I spoke to the auditors about this. According to audit, if we are taxed, like 101 is taxed, their tax rate is for 101 projects, we cannot give other funds, like we can't give an undesignated fund balance of general fund to fund a highway project.
or maybe it was the general fund. that it was coming out of the general fund, is that? What do you suggest?
It can't come out of general fund.
What do you
I'm saying.
suggest?
Well, it can come from the 171 fund for capital projects. It could come from the governor's grant of $600,000 this year. That can be used for any fund, or we could increase Gary's sales tax and 46,000. I mean, I think his budget this year was, I've got it right here. We made 1.1 million in sales tax for the highway department, and the budget was 800,000? 540, I'm sorry, 540, and we made 1.1 million. So there's $46,000, and that'll be there this year. We did increase it this year to 800 and something thousand, but,
And we've told those people that we was gonna
Right.
fix that road.
Right.
I just have to have somewhere to do the budget amendment from the $46,000. And I talked to Gary, I thought it was gonna come from highway, I misunderstood.
So
But-
what, after all this, what are you recommending?
Well,
Mayor, do you have an opinion, or?
Whatever, I mean, whatever Robbie thinks, I think, the sales tax is there, I mean, it's definitely there.
Yeah.
Even what we budgeted this year of 850, we can increase that 46, and I think he's still gonna hit that. And so, we did this past year. So that's probably what,
Did you talk to Gary about that?
he just said that commission had agreed to pay for it.
Right. I hate to change anything in his budget without him being here to give his input on it. I mean, I wouldn't want to be done like that, but I yield to everybody else.
I mean, we can make a recommendation and discuss it, and there's always commission, obviously, anything tonight has to be approved by commission.
Is this something that has to be done,
Doesn't have to
Right
be done,
now?
we could do it again next month if.
you'll bring it up again next month?
I mean, I think they're in the process of
Let's don't put it off.
getting this
Okay.
done. I think we're the budget committee. This is our job. We need to find where the money comes from, right?
Well, I just thought you made a valid point about Gary being
Yeah, I
present.
mean, I don't want to,
I told him, he knew this was on the agenda.
So how would the motion need to
I
read?
mean, increase sales tax and increase the budget code in his fund, $46,000.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion worded as Robbie says.
where is, and that money's coming from sales tax?
From 131 sales, they get 30, how much, what percent? 33% each month of what the general fund brings in.
Uh-huh.
General fund gets 67.
So we're just gonna increase it to where he gets an extra 46,000.
Well, he already is getting it, we're putting it in the budget.
Commissioner White moves to approve, Commissioner
Second.
Waddell seconds the motion, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carries.
That's going to the full commission for,
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I was gonna say that, if he disagrees, he'll be there at that meeting.
It's your brother-in-law. If you got us into this, he's gonna be mad at you.
All right, so,
I've
new
been
business,
outside for
Love
15
it.
years.
You're
Sorry.
you're fine. Under new business, there is one budget amendment from the school department it's for lottery for education after-school programs, $525,363, and increasing several expenditure codes by that same amount. It's money for the after-school program that I think Julie thought they were gonna start a little later, and Dr. Perry wanted to start it earlier, so she's needing the money to go ahead and get in the budget.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion. That's extended childcare you're talking about
Yes.
after school, yeah.
And I'm assuming since it says lottery for education after school, it's coming from the lottery.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for all the schools?
Yes.
I second the motion.
Second by Commissioner White, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carries.
Okay, and under old business, from the Operations Committee, there was a motion to bring the Isaiah House back to the Budget Committee, and I didn't put this in your agenda, but I did give you some information in the little small packet I gave you, so that's what's up next. And I think there are some, Commissioner McCamey, if you want to speak about this, or, I know there's another person here to speak also. And Judge Hunt also included a recommendation, a letter that he recommended approving funding for this.
Mr. Chairman, this was a recommendation from the full commission. It was heard in August of last year. The request was made, but somehow it never did get to the full commission for a vote. And I referred it back to the budget committee, and then I'll make sure that it gets to a vote on the 16th of this month. It's something I feel really good about. It's something that's needed in this county. And if you read Judge Hunt's letter, he supports it. It's definitely needed. As some of you know, and some of you may not, in 1982, I became a county commissioner, and I also became a foster parent. I've done that now since 1982. And one of the biggest things that tugs at my heart is when DCS calls me and says, can you take this child for the night? If not, he's going to have to sleep in the office. And this will provide a place for that child to sleep. They've been very successful in their fundraising so far. I think they're almost at their goal. And the request is for $10,000. They've had the land donated to build the house. And
Where's that gonna be, Rob?
I'm not sure. Kathy, you want to come on up and?
Hello.
What's your name, ma'am? I'm sorry.
Hi, my name's Cassie D. Jarnett.
Thank you, ma'am.
The land at our last conversation had been donated. However, our survey and the general contractor, it's not going to be a go for our land. We do have $125,000 that we've raised since last August when I started on this journey. And just for clarification, in our county, we have more kids in foster care than in any other county in our region, which is 8 other counties. Presently, we're over the 200 mark with those kids in care right now who are staying in the DCS office when they're pulled into custody. And so that is why we are asking for this to move into our community.
I make a motion we approve this.
Commissioner White moves to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jameson. Any discussion? Commissioner Waddell.
Well, I won't spend too much time. Y'all know how I feel about donating taxpayer money. I'm not saying this is not a good cause. They came to my church. They've been to a lot of churches, and I think that's the way it should be funded, by volunteers giving. Like I said, I can't donate taxpayer money. Y'all may not know, but we've got a lot of money that's going to be needed coming up. For an example, the fire truck resolution for Andersonville was $280,000 close, right? The fire truck that they spec'd because of the inflation, that same fire truck that Marlow Fire Department got is $330,000. So they're $50,000 short on getting the fire truck. We're gonna have to come up with a plan, something to help. We've donated $50,000 to the McNabb Center that I think still just sitting there, right?
We haven't wrote the check yet.
And we donated, I don't even remember the number, last month. All I'm saying is, I'm sure this is a great cause. I'm just saying we cannot keep donating taxpayer funds to nonprofits. We have to fund our county here. We have to fund our fire department. We have to fund our emergency services. I deal with DCS on a weekly basis, and I can tell you that office is never open when I need it. I have been very unsatisfied with DCS's services in this county many, many times. I hope that maybe this would help, but it's not for me to donate the money that the taxpayers paid in for their fire department, for their other services.
Commissioner Creasy.
Yes, and if I heard the lady correct, she mentioned that Henderson County has a large number of foster children as compared to surrounding county?
Yes, sir. 8 counties in our eastern region. That's
Does that
from,
include Scott County and
yes, sir. Campbell County, all the way down.
And we're greater than they are?
Yes, sir. It's
Is the
all of
lo-
our surrounding counties minus Knox. It is its own county.
Is that, the reason for that, is that a lot dependent on the drug use?
Yes, sir.
And I'm with Robert on this and the other commissioners. I'm very supportive of this. And another question I have for you. Are other counties across the state, do they have a home like this?
Yes, sir. This started in Carter County with a lady named Rhonda Paulson. That was in 2017. We since have 7 open homes. There are many more in the expansion process, which is what we are in, including Blount County. Knox County is also in the expansion process. Monroe and McMinn County are together in this process as well.
And I think this operation and this expenditure, in a way, or maybe an indirect way, will benefit the county, law enforcement, parents, grandparents. I think it's a service to our community that I'm in support of using taxpayer money for. And I support Robert and the mayor and those, and the judge, and all those that are supporting it. I commend them for bringing this forward. Thank you, Robert.
Any further discussion?
One more quick thing.
Commissioner Waddell?
I got a text from another commissioner, and according to him, in the Secretary of State's website, there's 644 nonprofit organizations in Anderson County. 644 in this county. They'll start lining up around this courthouse, and y'all gonna have to give them all $10,000. That's about, $6.5 million. Is that right? Just a quick figure.
Any further?
And I think we've got a good track record on how we're handling the nonprofit. Robert and I, after our last meeting, had a discussion about that, and I think this commission is doing a commendable job of deciding where to spend taxpayers' money. I haven't had any complaints from any of the voters or the residents or from the community as a whole on how we're doing. Negative comments I'm speaking of. I'm proud of what we do here with this commission. I think we have an excellent commission, and I think we do spend the money in a wise way that benefits every citizen. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here and for investing in our future. These kids are our future. I appreciate it.
Any further discussion? Commissioner Yeager?
How many other county governments are donating in our 8 county region?
I'm sorry, do you mean how many other homes are coming?
How many county governments are donating in this 8 county region?
I have not done the research on that. I'm sorry. However, I would tell you that we are in partnership to, one, first and foremost, reduce the trauma for the children on a day that's very traumatic. And number 2, to partner with the foster families, because as Commissioner McCamey said, when we get a phone call for, hey, we have this sibling group of 3 and they all have head lice and we don't have anything and they're dirty, can we bring them to your home? People say no. And we're gonna stand in the gap there. We're gonna take care of that head lice and we're gonna take care of that and they're gonna be clean and people are gonna say yes. The other part is we are gonna partner with DCS because they are overworked. When we have all these kids in custody, they cannot do this job. We need to partner with them. So I'm sorry I can't answer your exact question, but we are in partnership across the community like this. Thank you, sir.
Any further discussion?
Is this is this house gonna be in Anderson County? Or is it gonna be in a area, eight counties, somewhere around there?
This house is going to be in Anderson County, and it will only serve the children of Anderson County unless they're placing them within our county.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no.
No.
Motion carries. As a sidebar note, if y'all will recall, last month, there was a discussion about what our standing rule was on donating to nonprofits. I think Director Holbrook has some information to give us on that.
Yeah, so I researched back to 2009 and 10, and in that budget year, we put $70,000 in miscellaneous to be determined at a later date in the appropriation resolution, meaning that gave you all $70,000 kind of spending money for nonprofits. It was taken out of the budget, the 11-12 year budget year, so that was the last thing I could find for when nonprofits were funded like that. We used to fund a lot of different ones, and there was a whole list, but in 9-10, there was $70,000 extra dollars put in the budget for this kind of purpose, I guess.
So there was never a rule that you can find that we said we were going to stop.
I couldn't find any.
We just removed that 70,000 from the,
Right, and I couldn't find any resolution or anything to go with this, and I had a net search too, and so we weren't able to find that. Sometimes it's hard to find those things.
Commissioner McCamey, go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I was one that suggested that we just stop the nonprofit committee, because the nonprofit committee would meet in August, July or August, right after our new budget came out, and they would advertise that any nonprofit that wanted contribution from Anderson County to fill out this form, bring it to us, and we donated all the money at one time. And if a need came up in the middle of the year, then it was, oh, well, you should have come in July, you know, you're a nonprofit, you should have come in July. We were donating, I remember the last year, and the reason I brought it up, we donated to United Way. And then they took our donation and they donated, because that's what they do. They donate to other nonprofits. But we didn't know where it went because it went to United Way. And I said, let's just take these one-on-one as they come up and appropriate the money that we need if they can show a need. But it started out, they all just came because they wanted it, not, they didn't have to, you know, show any
And
need.
because we advertised.
Right. We advertised that any nonprofit that wanted to come before the county commission and get funded, you know. And I think the last year we gave $3,000 to everybody that submitted an application, and that's all the money that we had. We took the whole $70,000, so you can imagine how many nonprofits came in. And that's the reason that I was opposed to it, because we, like I said, in July, we gave out all the money. Something came up in December, January, February. Oh, well, you should have come in July, you know. But I want it to be based on need, not want. I want them to come and tell me why they need it. And we can make that decision at that time if this is something that's needed or if it's something they want. And that's what I've always told my kids. There's a big difference in what you need and what you want. So, but that's sort of the way that went.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Commissioner Waddell.
And in the last 3 or 4 months, we've donated almost $70,000. So the only difference is now there's an endless budget of money to be donated instead of having a cap at $70,000. So I would love to see a cap on this, because I, for one, would rather donate to the Isaiah House than I would have taken $50,000 for the McNabb Center and it's setting and waiting on them to raise the other money for inmates at the jail, all right? I'd much rather put my money in children than the inmates at the jail. So, again, I understand Robert saying we take things, you know, on a basis, but it seems like a big rubber stamp up here sometimes. And if you don't believe that, look at the money we're spending, and you'll see. There's not very many no votes up here. So, I'd just like for us to be cautious and be watching our funds.
Mayor Frank?
I would just like to add a couple of comments on this. One, the year I ran for office, so when I took office, it was actually the first year that the nonprofit contributions had ended. And so I actually took the blame for that for multiple years, where it was, Mayor Frank, you got elected and you cut off all the nonprofit donations. And the research I did was just exactly as Commissioner McCamey said. And there have been years where you probably saved money, where there were requests that were voted down in tough years. So 2013, 2014 was one of those years where there wasn't a lot of money. I remember some individuals coming to Budget Committee, which I chaired at that time, and we told them no on even the smallest donations. And it was for those reasons, because we were looking at increases in health costs, we were looking at the sheriff with needs, and that the Budget Committee did turn those down. Also, there are many times when folks do come to the mayor's office and ask for contributions, and you know, I encourage them to either take it on their own, because I know that it's something that's probably not going to meet your standards, but many times I act as a firewall in that regard. Or I will connect them with another agency that might be able to help them fund something. But I do want to commend this commission, because I think you have done a good job on managing those donations. And perhaps with the exception of the McNabb, really most everything you do is for the physical infrastructure to be able to provide these facilities and services to meet the needs of people in Anderson County. So whether that's Roane State Community College, or an investment in TCAT, or an investment in the Emory Valley Center, or the American Legion, they are physical facilities to meet, and there is bricks and mortar and a roof to show for what you've invested in. It's not, I don't see you providing funding for operational costs or any of those things. And that's just in my time here. I'm sure there might be an exception here or there, but for the most part, I see you investing in the facility. So just wanted to chime in there.
Thank you, Mayor. Any further questions on that issue? I know there's not a motion or anything on the table, but any further questions on it? All right, moving on.
Okay, I have two more things on old business really quick. One is just another referral from the Operations Committee. Commissioner McCamey made a motion to forward to Finance and Budget to look at funding one truck per year at 100%. And Commissioner Anderson seconded. I will say that we can address that in budget season. I mean, there's really no action we can take right now.
A fire truck?
A fire truck, yes. And we will need a new fire truck resolution after Andersonville is the next one on the list, and then we're done with that resolution.
Yeah,
so.
Director Holbrook is right. The history on that, knowing that that resolution was soon coming to an end, I believe Commissioner McCamey on Operations brought it up for the Fire Commission to be discussing, if they had options, what would they prefer? I know Commissioner Waddell, I think, was at a couple of those meetings, whether they wanted to continue as is, whether they wanted just an in lieu of payment each year in addition to what they're already receiving, so forth and so on. I think the item came up twice at the Fire Commission. Both times the Fire Commission voted to keep the resolution as is if, well, not really even if, but keep the fire resolution as is, but try for us to go back to paying one engine each year instead of splitting it up in a department, getting one every other year. So that's where we're at today. The question that I think the Budget Committee needs to try to answer is, do we have the funding to go back to the original resolution's wording where a fire engine was provided, one department got one each year? Did I make that clear? I think I went around the mulberry bush, but does everybody understand what the question is? So I guess we start that discussion, Robbie, by saying, do we have enough money to be able to do that?
If we did that this year, it would have been a deficit budget. I would say we address it next budget
Okay.
season and see, what we have with revenues and.
So we got time between now and then to double check all the numbers and
Yes.
everything, but just so the committee knows that's the question that the fire commission has requested we answer and moving in that direction.
I think we definitely ought to wait until at least Andersonville gets their quote back too, because they,
Might be a
like I
different
said, the
cost.
fire chief called me and she said that from 2014 to today, it was estimated that the same fire engine that Marlowe got is gonna cost around $50,000 more today than it did in 2014. So for all of y'all that's always bringing up inflation up here, that's some serious inflation. I think Nathan and the Sheriff's Department can all vouch for the increased cost in automobiles, so, before I'd be willing to really think about that, I think we ought to look at the new number of what it's gonna cost every year or every other year.
Well, and we have 135,813 in the budget this year, and that's based on the increase that we do each year, so that's for half of it.
Commissioner Yeager?
The federal government has thrown so much money at state, local level, that, I believe, that number is not going to be going down anytime soon, even with the chip shortage that we have to overcome. So, do you have an estimate for the rollback, money for the?
Possibly 5 million?
See, I think, even though this is a highly inflated number, I'm of the opinion that we should roll ahead and even, I think the mayor's even suggested, buy a bulk purchase of some of these items. Because, like I said, there's trillions of dollars sloshing around in these governments, and everyone's gonna be buying these ambulances and these fire trucks and these police cars. I think even if it's an inflated number, I think we ought to lock in some numbers too.
And that's something we can discuss, we can bring, next month, we will definitely have a true fund balance, and we can bring this, we can actually talk about this again next month.
Okay.
I may not be here next month though, so I just wanted to say that.
And that leads me into the last thing on the old business is, Nathan was here again to address capital needs, so along those same lines, he really needs to get an ambulance ordered, or inflation is, I think it goes up 5%.
Before Nathan speaks, Mr. Chairman, I think our real discussion that we need to do on these fire trucks, I'd like to see us as a commission, discuss and decide if we want to continue funding a fire truck. I think we need to be as frugal as we can be, but I'd like to see us have that discussion. Do we want to continue with this resolution? Do we want to revise it, or do we want to just discontinue it? I'd like to see us have that discussion at some point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, and there
Sure.
would have to be a new resolution in order to
Right.
fund one period, so that's, would have
Because
to
this
pass.
one ends with Andersonville. Yeah. Director Sweet?
So there's nothing like showing up to a budget committee and the budget director asks in the nicest possible way,
Why are you here?
"Why are you here?" He was as surprised as I was. He was. He seriously was the nicest anyone has ever asked why I was there. But I did want to bring back up, I know I met with Mayor Frank earlier this week and looking at projects on better ways to do vehicles, which I think is a phenomenal opportunity for us to take a look at, but that would not include ambulances, because I think it's looking at some kind of lease, purchase, resale. There's not a market for ambulances to do that. We got our bid in. It's a 240-day build time. So the day we order, 240 days is when we will receive that vehicle. And that vehicle will not be ready to go. Some of the cost-saving measures we try to do is we get them decaled here. We get the radios installed here, so they have to arrive here for us to do that. So that's just 240 days to us receive the apparatus before we can put it on the road and use it. The price did go up because I did ask the vendor if we could go off of the previous year's bid. He said, no, the price changed, the price went up. I did talk to the vendor after getting the bids in. August 21st, the price goes up again. So we will have to rebid after August 21st, which we can do. I mean, and it wasn't, I got the notification from the builder as well, and not from them directly, that they're increasing their price because of, and I could send it to you, a list of all of the things it takes to build the ambulance. Their prices have gone up. So they can no longer absorb the costs for materials to build the ambulance, so they now have to pass some of that on to the people that are buying it. That's what we're looking at right now. So if we do wait, then, I mean, price will go up again. We will rebid it, but we're still at that 200, well, if the date doesn't go even longer, but it won't go shorter than 240 days, I would not anticipate. I'm just bringing that information because I know we talked last month, we tabled, because Mayor Frank was not there, and looking at opportunities. I'm bringing back the information that I've gotten since then. I know you all are the decision makers on that. I'm just giving you information for you all to have to think about and what we would do going forward.
Commissioner Liddell.
I think you need to come up a little earlier. We spent all our money for today, but,
Should've got mine earlier.
that's right.
Robbie?
What's the new cost per ambulance? Do you have that, or?
I believe it's 154,000 for the ambulance. Then the equipment for that, we're up to 390,000 for both.
For both, okay.
How much?
Fully equipped.
$390,000 for the ambulance and the equipment that goes on it.
Well,
That does not include the cardiac monitor and stretcher, but that does include everything else.
I for one think that, we've kicked this down the road at least two meetings now. I think we need to make a decision and we need to get a move on because he needs to order the ambulances or it's gonna be coming up on next budget year before you even get it.
We're looking delivery of May if
Right.
we ordered it this month.
So, I know we had talked about some of the,
There's 600,000 in the governor's grant that we're receiving this year. We could take it out of that. We cannot take it out of general fund unassigned fund balance.
Right.
Nathan's fund balance.
what is the what is the most restrictive place that we can get the money that we can still pay for ambulances out of? Like, you know what I'm saying? I want to use money that's restricted for certain needs that we can get ambulances out of.
I mean, I would say the governor's grant, the 600,000 is what I would probably use first. I mean, we get that's money we're given this year to spend.
We've not gotten it yet, but we're getting it.
Not yet, but we are getting it.
Are we getting it in a lump sum or?
Yes.
Okay. So you need 390?
That would still leave 210 for other needs. Plus
Our
the-
capital outlay request was 393, but it did come in at 390. And again, that's radios, stretcher mount, apparatus, decals, all those things for it.
I don't see things getting any cheaper. We're sure not getting in line and gonna get it any sooner if we wait, so.
I mean, we did put money in the 171, the capital, but it only has 100 and something thousand in fund balance. And so we would have to collect some taxes before that cash would be available in that fund. So,
Mayor, I think, isn't it?
Mayor Frank.
I was just gonna say, I know normally, you've been using that rollover for the capital, but, you could still use that for the other capital items like sheriff's vehicles, and, I mean, that would be the wisest thing the governor's grant, because then you could always, if you had other projects or other needs, you could use what normally you've been using the rollover for. And then something else, Nathan referenced it, but I haven't filled you all in yet because we're doing the work. I did talk to Robbie about this. There are some counties, such as Blount, Knox is looking at this, who have moved to a lease program for vehicles, you know, not your ambulance. And the best, simplest way for me to understand it, and so hopefully I can and make it clear and not fumble it for you all. If you think about how we purchase Missouri vehicles all the time for the sheriff's department, they do that based on a plan where they drive them, they have maximized their investment with the lowest cost per mile. So they've done all the calculations, they drive it to that point in time, and then they sell them to people like Anderson County. And they have actually, they're at a point where they've created a revenue stream on their vehicles. And so we're looking at that for Anderson County. So for instance, as commissioners, if you're looking at a purchase of vehicles, you may see on the timeline, you know, we spend $500,000 in 2017, but then 2018, we couldn't really afford any, and we just get a couple, and then we do another huge investment. This creates stability, and then also for your investment. So for instance, let's say you're getting 2 cars for $50,000. Under this program, you would get 12 for the same amount. And so then you turn around and you're tapping into a network of aftermarket sellers. Some of the data crunching that we're doing, John Vickery is getting together all of the vehicle information, the mileage, what our fleet looks like. And then we're also working with Lieutenant Sharp on the patrol vehicles, because we have to measure, you know, account for the equipment, what does it take to put it on, what does it take to take it off, and what are those factors in this number. So we are working on that for you to give you an option as well. So maybe not just do, you know, a big bulk purchase every year, but maybe get more for our dollars. So I wanted to fill you in since he referenced that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Should have that by the end of August.
All right, good plan.
Commissioner James.
I got a couple of questions, just informational. What's the life expectancy of an ambulance?
We have been keeping them in our fleet for 10 years, 5 years frontline, 5 years reserve. That is actually a stretch. Industry standard is actually less than that.
And then after 10 years, we auction them off?
We try to surplus them, yes, sir. I think we have one that's an '06, it's getting ready to go out to surplus.
Okay. The other question is, when you put out a bid, do you send this to a lot of ambulance companies?
Yes, sir.
How many do you hear?
Well, I believe purchasing posts it on the site, and it's available to the public.
What?
We don't, the purchasing, when they send a bid out, they post it on a vendor registry and an open site for vendors to find it. As far as I understand, they don't directly send it to different vendors. We have historically sent it to multiple vendors, but traditionally with what purchasing does, she posts it and
How
makes
many
it
bids did
advertised.
we get?
We got 1. Last year, I think we got 2.
How come we're not getting more bids?
Part of it is the type of unit that we're buying. Not everybody makes it like that. And part of it is they chose not to. I haven't spoken to too many vendors. I mean, I've talked to some vendors prior to bid that they were going to bid, and then we not get a bid from them.
Why is our units that we're wanting to buy not like everybody else's?
Well, I think part of that is you try to look at what you want out of a ambulance. So there are different ways to construct different things. So the way we've identified how we believe is best construction for our ambulances, we use hardly any wood in our apparatus. There's only one piece of wood, and that's the subfloor that goes on the patient compartment. A lot of vendors do a lot of primary construction out of wood, which makes the vehicle extremely heavy. And actually, in multiple cases, we found with some of our old apparatus, it exceeds the GVWR. So you kind of put yourself in a bad place when you have a vehicle that's rated for a certain weight and you put too much weight on it. It starts to create all kinds of potential issues and liability. So we switched to really being specific and using metal for our apparatus. So most everything is made out of some kind of aluminum or metal. That makes the vehicle weigh less. It actually is more durable. And construction-wise, it works and functions a whole lot better. So there's a lot on that end that we specified in our bid. Well, not a lot, but many ambulance bidders or builders don't do that. They use a lot of wood.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions?
Just to expand on that, I think we talked about it, and the whole goal was to continue to buy the same type.
Yes, please.
So it makes it easier on equipment, fitting equipment, easier on John doing maintenance, easier on you all doing maintenance. So we just want to continue with this one type of ambulance instead of having
Correct.
multiple different types.
Correct.
right?
If you're working in Andersonville, and then the next day you pick up a shift and you're working in Oak Ridge, it should be the same truck, same layout. So when you have a critical call, you're not guessing, where's this piece of equipment in this truck? We're trying to get there. We're not there, but we're trying to get there.
Any further discussion?
Good plan, man.
Yes, sir.
Good plan.
Yes, sir.
Do we have, Commissioner Yeager?
It's the Southwest Airlines model, really.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Just go anywhere in the country, you're gonna have the same plane, and it is more efficient to run the same piece of equipment everywhere.
Yes, sir.
So I guess what you're asking for tonight is a motion to buy the ambulance
And a second.
in a second. So does he have that motion?
Yeah.
I make a motion.
Commissioner Creasy moves to approve, that's $390,000 for one ambulance.
Two.
That's two ambulances. Okay. Do we have a second?
And we're taking this out of
The grant money.
the grant money.
Mhm.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Commissioner Jameson?
390,000, is that for one ambulance or two?
Two.
That's for two.
Oh, so that's right at 200,000 each.
Close to, yes, sir.
Any further discussion? Commissioner Smalley?
So this would replace two ambulances that are now on reserve, or as you, I think you,
It would replace older fleet ambulances. So the Oliver Springs ambulance, it would replace that one. And I believe the next one after that would be Andersonville.
I understand the need. I guess I would have liked us to have a discussion whether we needed a special meeting or whatever to look at large capital outlay like this, like fire trucks and ambulances and sheriff, see where we stand on everything. I understand though that there's a time element here in terms of when we could get the.
And I would be all for that. I will say that I did, in the budget we submitted in February, this is in my capital outlay request. So I submitted this as far back as February. I'm more than happy to have those discussions as many times as we would like to. That's correct. I think historically, I think kudos to all of you. Operating budget, man, was probably one of the soonest ones I've been at 12 years as director. Capital outlay historically has continued to push farther and farther back.
We have to figure out where we're getting that money.
Any further discussion? Nathan, I'll say this, and I know it probably sounds like I'm nitpicking, and I know you and I have had several conversations about the specs on the ambulances.
Yes, sir.
Diesel versus gas the mileage that goes into it all ever. I don't work EMS, you know that better what you need than I do.
Yes, sir.
However, some of the concerns that I've got, and I'm gonna vote yes on this, but some of the concerns that I've got, you went to the 24/72 schedule.
Yes,
We
sir.
knew that was gonna take some of the money you had in the bank. I know you've hired some more people, I think last month or month before, you said for the first time in a long time, you had people beating down the door wanting to come to work. And I hope that works out for you.
Yes, sir.
What I don't want to do is wind up back with an EMS budget situation like we had when I first came on county commission back in 2016. And I'm not saying that's your fault. I'm just saying I don't want to have to go back to where we're struggling, trying to rob Peter to pay Paul to keep our EMS system a good, solid EMS system like
Yes,
we
sir.
have. So
Yes,
please,
sir.
please help us make sure that we're gonna have enough money in the bank to be able to maintain
I
that.
think I could honestly say, I don't want to go back to 2016 more than you.
I would say you're probably telling the truth on that.
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
That it? No more business coming before the committee. We are adjourned.